Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins, Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is Giacomo, and this is episode 187. Thanks so much for tuning in, and hope that you're enjoying the new stuff that's coming out since our content break last month. It gives us a chance to be creative and think about new conversations that we can have with different people. And we've been asking you who you want us to interview. And I thought to myself, as we get into going on what will be our 6th cruise on the Holistic Holiday at Sea, I said, let me reach out to Sandy, because we're typically just caught up in the moment and we're busy doing our thing. And there's some I know about you in the cruise, but there is a lot that I don't know. So for those of you who don't know who's joining us today yet, if you don't know in person or you're unfamiliar with him, this is Sandy. I don't want to butcher your last name.
Pukel.
Sandy Pukel. And Sandy, as far as I know, is you are the visionary. I know that you're the one. You are the one. You are the main person for the Holistic Holiday at Sea. And I had to refresh my memory. I looked at the site briefly. This is going to be the 20th anniversary of what was the very first vegan-specific cruise, although it was initially called the Holistic Holiday at Sea. And it's such an honor to have you here today. And I think the coolest way to start this would be to learn a little bit more about you, and then, of course, segue into what got you into this whole project that has lasted for such a long period of time right now and is still going strong.
Well, thank you for having me on episode number 187. I'm very proud of you and very honored to be here. Thank you very much. So I've been involved, my life's work, plant-based diet for 54 years. This past April, I started in April 1970. And I'm into it 100%, not 99%. You know, this is my work. This is my life's mission, so to speak. My work is to turn the world on to health and happiness by eating well, exercising, being respectful of the planet, all of it. I don't just say I'm just vegan. That's not enough. Because we know so many people we know are vegan. That's great, but you drink Coca-Cola and you're vegan. You candy bars, junk food, you're vegan. So my thing is education, education, education. It always has been. Of course, encompasses everything. So I went to a lecture in 1970. A friend of mine told me about it, and I said, it resonated with me. That night on, that was it. I didn't look back on it. I didn't go sideways. I'm going to think about it. I embraced it that night. I went home, told my parents, and they said to me, well, what happens when you have kids? What's going to happen then? I says, Mom, my dad, because I want to have kids is why I'm doing this. Because I want my kids to grow up in a better world where they can play with other kids that are healthy and happy. So it's always been my thing to do that. I did all the typical. I went to college, even went to law school for a couple of years. But this has always been my calling. I gave cooking classes right in the very beginning. I gave lectures. I didn't care if 3 people showed up, 5 people showed up. My responsibility to be there. You never know who that person is going to be, who's going to turn somebody else onto it. So over the years, I opened up a big natural food store in Coconut Grove, Florida. At the time, it was one of the biggest ones in the country. Of course, it didn't start out that way. It started at a 2nd-story walk-up in a law office. Then we went downstairs. Then we expanded. We had a restaurant. We had great restaurants over the years, great store. I mean, the store was fabulous, known near and far. People came everywhere. We had stars of sports and entertainment came there. Of course, Miami's a hot place.
Yeah,
and people used to come into the store. If they were into any kind of eating well, natural foods, they would come into the store. We had everybody that came into the store and ate in the restaurant. And it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. We had, I mean, I'm talking about from Bob Dylan to Michael Jackson to Sylvester Stallone, or you're talking about the who's who of the world we had in there. Politicians, everybody came in there.
Wow.
And I was always the press knew I was always very friendly to answer questions. So if there was any kind of question that had to do with anything with natural foods, they would call me up. I never even met the people, but I would answer. I would always have an answer for them. I was always available. So I did that, had the store. We expanded to a restaurant. And then along the way, did other projects, started 2 or 3 nonprofit foundations teaching education throughout the state of Florida. Started a project I don't know if you want to hear this stuff. This is my
Of course I
background.
do. No, this is how it goes, right? Yeah, I'm the whole tie-in here. I'm listening the entire time how it started with that conversation with your parents, and then it led to a lifestyle change, a conviction in your beliefs, and now you're creating a whole experience for people in this Coconut Grove location. And
yeah,
go ahead.
we started an event called Taste of Health.
Yeah.
It's, you know how you have Taste of New York and Taste of Chicago, and they have vendors and they sell everything. Well, I started an event called Taste of Health, only natural food vendors. So the park was filled with natural food vendors. And the first year we had 4,000 people. And we donated all the money to the Dade County school system to teach about nutrition in the school system. And we did that for years. And then other people asked me in other states if they could copy me and help me. I would help them do it. So that was my thing. Always, I said to, we in these Taste of Health in the park, we had, you know, the famous rock and roll bands to attract people to be there. And
yeah,
it was fun, always fun.
Nice.
Always fun. Not the people who were on, not Taylor Swift category, but Richie Havens category. How's that? Or Jerry Jeff Walker, for those that know him, or whatever it is on it. So I'm aging myself, but that's where it was at. So I did that education. And then in the besides the seminars, I started doing seminars in hotels throughout the country.
Yes.
And we did that for 30 years before the cruise. Almost 50 years I've been doing seminars. So for the first 30 years, I did it in hotels in San Francisco, Palm Springs, California, Breckenridge, Colorado, Miami Beach. And we had the who's who of everybody. We had Deepak Chopra 3 times. We had Dr. Dean Ornish. We had those environmental. We had Cesar Chavez. We had Hollywood celebrities such as Ted Danson and his wife Mary Sternbergen. We had Ed Asner. We had Lindsay Wagner. Anybody who was into any kind of environment or natural foods, we got them, and they were all very supportive of what I was doing. It's not that I didn't pay them any money. Basically, I mean, it was minuscule compared to what they get, but they were happy to support what I was doing, and I was very grateful for that. And I kept the mission going on that. So we did it in 30 years in hotels. And fast forward to tie in, I might go back a little bit, but to fast forward, I was on a plane one day and I heard about this conference, this medical conference they did on a cruise ship. And I said, wow, why don't we do this on a cruise ship? Because in my thinking, hotels are great. It's nice, but you do it on a cruise ship, they capture the audience. They can't go away. You have them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's a whole different dynamics. It's a whole different way you deal with each other. When you're with each other all day and all night, your camaraderie, you're sitting at tables and socializing. And one of the rules we set from day one, the teachers can't go up to the ivory towers. The teachers have to be in the dining room eating with the guests. People love it. They're sitting there next to, whether it's John Cremota sitting next to Dr. Michael Gregor or Neil Barnard or whoever it might be.
Right.
Colin Campbell, Caldwell Esselstyn. They're in the dining room meeting with everybody else, answering questions and considering. I said, you switch tables as you will at every meal. We had all these people, so people loved it. So it was always been my whole thing is education, and why not have fun? Why not have an enjoyable time while you're having a vacation and education? And that's what it did. The very first year we did the cruise, we had more people than we ever had in our largest thing in a hotel.
Really?
Yeah. And for the next 10 years, we had double-digit increases in growth every year until we capped out. Because after a while, we capped out ourselves. We did a self-imposed tax because of the meeting rooms and the lectures. We wanted to have the experience to be happy for everybody. So in the meantime, in my spare time, I started the American Miso company, which is called Miso Master now.
Okay.
And I started that with John Bellamy in 1980s.
Okay. So that's the start of that with the Bellamy's.
Yeah. And right now, it's the largest miso company, certainly in the United States, probably one of the largest ones in the world.
Yes.
And then we did seitan company. I started a seitan company where we did seitan all over the United States. So I was always into doing stuff and at those times, John was my partner in that. And then when I decided to do the cruise, I said, John, let's do the cruise. And everybody thought I was crazy. My friends, my family. What do you mean on a cruise ship? Who's going to go on a cruise ship and want to eat vegan food on a cruise ship? And I said, we're going to do it. So I went on the cruise ship to talk to the line we decided to do the first year. And I walked into the dining room because I had to speak to the food and beverage guy. He was the main obstacle. And we went into the dining room, and it was set up for a banquet. There was 5 goblets on the table for wine, for water and liquor, and there was 3 forks and 3 knives and spoons. And I said to him, Hans, I said, we don't need all this stuff. He said, Sandy, and a lesson, I thank him every day, well learned. If you're on our ship and you represent us, you must, with a capital M-U-S-T, at every meal, you must have a soup, you must have an appetizer, you must have a salad, you must have an entree, you must have a dessert. Right. And everybody loves it. And the feedback we get from everybody, a 5-course meal. Who sits down and has a 5-course vegan meal these days?
Yeah,
served by tuxedo waiters in the beginning, right? You don't have to do the dishes. You got great food. You could ask for seconds if you wanted to. And so it was incredible. And every year by word of mouth, and by that time we mailed things out. There was no internet stuff. We did snail mail. We mailed out brochures. We advertised in vegan journals. And it grew and grew and grew until as I said, and then I said, okay, now it's time to do on a cruise ship. So even while I was doing on the cruise ship, in my spare time, more spare time than I never have, I'm involved in educational seminars in Europe. So I'm part of a founding committee. I'm on the board of directors. We do seminars in Europe every year. We go to a different country, and we go to this past year. I just got back from Denmark. The year before was in England. Next year it's going to be in Belgium, and we meet. And it's mainly for teachers and how to support in their countries and whatever it is on it. But it's also one of my things that I like to do. The whole thing is turn the world on. We got to let these people go back to their countries. Let us, our teachers that come on the cruise, let them go back and speak to their audience like you do, like Dean Ornish did, like Colin Campbell does, and I have a great relationship with everybody. They're happy to be there because I kid around with everybody. I don't care what kind of teacher or how popular you are. You could write books and stuff like that, but it has to be a high to talk in front of 1,000 people. Yes. So when Michael Gregor gets into this auditorium and there's 1,000 people in front of him, or Colin Campbell, it's a rush. It's a rush. It's a rush for me to see that. So I tell everybody, everybody says to me, so what do you get out of it? And I said, I tell everybody, the opening day of the cruise, I say, everybody has to have a good time. Right. Because I get a contact high from you. Yes. So if you have a good time, I'm going to have a good time. So it's your responsibility. If you want to know what I'm doing, you better make sure you have a good time. And therefore, I'll have a good time. Gotcha. So that's my thing. And I try to bring teachers that not just that they're good, that they're popular, but they can resonate with the audience. Because we get recommendations all the time. Why don't you invite this person, that person? And sometimes I see the videos, and truthfully, they're boring. And I wouldn't want to have them. So I used to use the criteria. If the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal have to decide randomly, I'm coming in to watch that class, is this teacher going to hold their own? Right. Now, did I blow it a couple of times? Of course I have. Because sometimes some of the teachers were pretty bad. I thought they were good, but it didn't turn out that way. Right. But we try. And that's how it's been. We get recommendations from other people. And now we get solicited all the time. I want to come on your cruise. And the agent calls up. My client just wrote this best-selling book. I remember the first time Dean Ornish, the agent, called up. And when I was negotiating the deal, she says, he's coming out with it's going to be a New York Times best-selling book. I said, really? But it's not out yet. So how do we know it's going to be a best-selling book? Because they know. So in the meantime, we booked them, and it was a best-selling book. That's great. So we're very, 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 very fortunate. We had Baby Doctor, for those of you who know Benjamin Spock, who probably the author of the second or third best-selling book in the world in history.
Okay.
We've had him a couple of times. So we're very fortunate. People want to come. Rich Roll, who now has a podcast himself over there, he
Yep.
came. We've had a lot of great physical athletes, but not just because they're athletes, but to have a message. It's okay that you could look good and everything like that, but you also have to connect with your audience and how to present what you're doing.
Right.
So, and what I've learned, and if I'm talking too much, you're allowed to tell me.
No, it's fine. You have a lot to share. I'm putting the pieces together. To me, you strike me as someone who is a connector. You bring together teachers at seminars. You have this strong belief in what you're doing, and you grow this network, and you want to make sure everyone's having a good time. Now, the cruise, is that your main thing?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Well, educational stuff besides the cruise. Yeah, but the cruise, people don't realize it's a real business, a full-time job. In the beginning, when I said we did those seminars in the park, we called it Taste of Health.
Yeah.
And we got sponsors from radio stations and newspapers.
Right.
And the beginning cruises were called Taste of Health. But then we decided to change the name because Taste of Health didn't connect with what we were doing.
Right.
So we changed the name. So now we still have Taste of Health, which is now a 501c3 nonprofit educational foundation. So we donate proceeds of the cruise stuff, a lot of stuff, to other nonprofits around the country who are on a similar mission that we're doing.
And you saw another working model like this, where there was a captive audience and a bunch of medical professionals and those interested in learning from them, right? That was
I didn't see it. I just read about it in Time magazine. I read about it. I never saw it.
So that was the spark right there. The person whose lecture, is it okay to ask who that person was? The one that initially got you hooked on the healthy lifestyle and plant-based diet?
Yeah. He happens to be an MD right now. His name is Willie Rosenfeld. He lives in New York. He went to Harper College, and he went to a lecture there about macrobiotics, about healthy, and he told us about it. And we went to the class, and that was it. I did it.
When you think back to that lecture, is there a specific thing or a specific idea that you can remember about that conversation that sparked the change?
100%. I use this. The woman, it was this little old lady. She probably was 80 at the time. I'm exaggerating, but she certainly was up in her years. Yeah. And she was probably no more than 5 feet tall. Rebecca Dabowski was her name. And we were in Manhattan. The lecture was in Manhattan, Midtown Manhattan. And she said, if you eat well and you practice what I'm telling you to do here, spiritually, physically, emotionally, you'll connect with the universe. And what happens is good things happen to you. And the spark that she said to me, you want a parking spot in Manhattan? It opens up for you. She says, you're riding around, no one has a parking spot, you'll find a parking spot. I'll never forget, that was the analogy that she used. And to this day, I laugh at that. But that's how you become. You become like, the expression, become one with the universe. Mm-hmm. We become one with our friends. We get along with everybody. That's the way it should be, right? It shouldn't be a struggle. Life should not be a struggle. Gotcha. Life should be, we're here on the planet to enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, right.
So in the beginning, I was focused on food, 100% food. Okay. But I learned over the years, you need more than food. Right. So I got into exercise. Mm-hmm. And I go to the gym every day now. I'm not saying 365 days a year, but close to it. Okay. If I'm around every day, I go for an hour and a half to 2 hours every day. And I don't go there to get muscle. Obviously, you see, it's not for me to get muscle, to maintain, just to feel healthy. I do cardio, I do weight work, whatever it is on it. But if there's a gym, I just was in St. Louis this past weekend, and there was a gym that was maybe 2 feet by 3 feet, one of the worst gyms I ever saw, but I managed to survive in there. I was down there every morning. I was the only one day, the other day, one woman out. That was it. But I go down with her. This morning I went 5 a.m. Sometimes at home I go usually close at 8 o'clock because I meet with friends and stuff like that. But I've decided in my studies, food is great, exercise is great. You put the two of them together, it's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's a geometric progression. So one plus the other, it takes you to another whole level. It's not just adding one and one. It's incredible what you could achieve by doing that together. And then if you do other kind of practice, whether it's yoga or meditation or any kind of spiritual practice, it even adds more to it. So we're not just doing this for ourselves to be physically great and to our friends, our neighbors, but we're here for the environment also, for the animals, for the earth, for our neighbors. You know, I see people in the gym, and I used to go over. I'm trying to be better now, not to go over and tell people what to do. And I don't mean exercise wise, but I feel bad when I see these people how they can be helped. And I know I want to help everybody. That's my thing. And a lot of times I'll go over to people because I go with my parents. I grew up in New York City, and they moved to Florida. And they lived in a high-rise apartment house.
Right.
And also over the years, what you didn't mention, I also got a license to counsel people. In the state of Florida, I'm licensed to counsel people. So I would see, I'm not saying thousands of people over the years, but certainly hundreds and hundreds. I help you with cancer, diabetes, heart. I'm pretty good at it. And I'm not good necessarily diagnosing, but I'm very good at giving people encouragement and giving people the will to live, giving people that want to take care of themselves. Right. So I'm tying this back because I'd be on the elevator with my parents' building, and one of the neighbors would come on, and I would look at their condition, I'd look at their face, and I would say, oh my gosh, this person has a heart condition or kidneys or this and that. And I would tell my parents, that guy got to watch it. He's going to have a heart attack or something like that, because that's what I did. I don't do it now because on the cruise and in the hotels, I let other people do it. Right. I only do it now if somebody really has to do it, because I don't charge anybody. I charge if they can afford it, but if they can't afford it, I don't worry about it.
I think you said the cruise was initially called Taste of Life. Did I remember
Taste of Health. Taste of Health.
Thank you. Walk me through, like, imagine if I was on the ship walking through on the very first cruise that you had. What was that like?
It was like we had 3 meals, 3 breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
We had exercise classes in the morning like we have now. Yeah. And we had yoga classes and bodybuilding classes. We had cooking classes.
Wow.
And I bring up cooking classes because I just was on an interview with Chef AJ recently. And at our cooking classes, we used to get 400 people. Who in the world has ever taught a cooking class with 400 people? I would say no one. If I'm wrong, somebody can shout out to me and tell me.
Sure.
But she said that it was incredible to her when she would be there, 400 people in a cooking class. And we served everybody tastings. So that was what we did. So we'd have cooking classes, then we'd have multiple lectures at the same time. So to be somebody talking about diabetes, maybe somebody talking about general health and vegan lifestyle, animal rights people, like we're having, we've had Ingrid Newkirk from Peter. We've had, fortunately, as I said, been very blessed. I've had the who's who of everybody that's wanted to be part of the cruise. So I'm sitting there, as you say, I'm the connector, call it whatever you want. I'm smiling, I'm blessed, I'm grateful that all of these people are willing to do that. And so that's what happened in the beginning. And we had people that came, and we had parties every night. We had classes every night. So, but I've learned over the years, because in the beginning, we had classes from 7 in the morning till it ended 10 o'clock at night. And people they didn't tell it to me directly. They told my staff, can you tell Sandy, not so many classes, we're on vacation. I said, so my attitude was, you don't have to go to classes. You don't have to go. But their thing was, they're afraid they were missing something. They're paying for it. They want to go. So after a while, when we're in port, we don't have classes in the height of the day. If we're in Jamaica, we don't have classes, say, when we land, it's like 5-6 hours, we let people get off the ship. Yeah. I don't have classes. But in the beginning, we had classes all the time.
It's great.
And even at night, 8 to 10 at night. And then even yoga. We had yoga in the morning, or exercise classes. And people said, Sandy, well, they didn't tell me, they told my staff, I don't want to get up 7 o'clock in the morning to do yoga. Can we have another time? So then we added second yoga classes. So we had one in the morning and one in the afternoon. But the same thing, meditation classes in the morning and in the afternoon. So we try to listen to our audience. Sometimes I listen. Hopefully I'm not too arrogant that I don't listen. But so it's evolved. We learn from each other. We learn from the audience telling us what they would like to see happen. So the first cruise was, and what happened is that, as you all know, in the world of vegan education, women are much more evolved than men are. So we get 2/3 women and 1/3 of the audience is men. We're trying to figure out how to get the men to come. We got 2/3 women, guys,
Yes.
but they don't come. So in the beginning, we did speed dating. We did speed dating even on the cruise. And I'm fast forwarding it because we've had marriages, we've had babies over the years.
Right. Yeah.
I call it the love boat. I call it the vegan love boat.
Wait. Babies on ship?
No, not born on the ship, but people they met on the ship.
Is that
had
possible?
a baby and have come back. Yeah.
It has to be.
It's incredible.
Like, they have a birthing room on the ship. Is that right? Or no?
One more time, please.
Like, if someone has to give birth on the ship.
Yeah, they can give birth on the ship.
Okay.
I've married people on the ship. Some people have been on the ship before. They decided to wait for the next year, and they said, "Sandy, can you marry us?"
Yeah.
And even though I'm not legal, so the captain made the sign, but they did a whole. They invited the whole thing, that whole ceremony with the whole gowns and the whole thing, and I did the ceremony.
Beautiful.
I was honest. Not like I even knew them as best friends, but they were happy that I was there. They met on the cruise. It was their honor to me, and I was honored back to them to perform the ceremony.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible.
The first time that Danny and I went on the cruise, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, the whole experience, it's one of those things where you want to be a part of that experience year after year. You know how sometimes people like different experiences, they don't like to repeat the same thing twice, but sometimes when the experience is that good, you want to repeat it because you want to go back and relive it and have a slightly different experience the next time. That's what I see happen with the cruise. It's just that enjoyable. And from the second you step on the ship and everyone's together and it's just it's like pretty much every cruise goer all at once, and everyone, it's just super welcoming. All the presenters and instructors are there. And then you know what I like the most about you, Sandy, is the fact that you take education and entertainment and you put it together. Because too much academia can be a little boring and dry for people, but too much entertainment, and now you're partying hard, and the whole idea is to be healthy and to learn. And I feel like you take these two things and you bring them together and you bring people together like that. And it's really cool hearing all of your stories about how that has been built up over the years and how it's still going off ship, because I didn't know that. I didn't realize you were doing seminars and your team out in Europe and different parts of the country and this and that and all that. So it's a really nice network of people and community, and it's neat to see it all come together every single year that it can. I know we had those couple of years where it wasn't possible to be on the ship during COVID.
Right.
I remember the online stuff where your team kept it going. And now you have your 20th year anniversary coming up in March of next year. You have the exact dates for it?
March 8th to 15th.
Is it sold? It's not sold out yet, is it?
No, we're still, hopefully we're going to sell out. Every year we've been very fortunate. We've had waiting lists some years. Most years we've had a waiting list. So it's been great. And this year we're bringing back again. Many years we had CMEs and CEUs. For those who don't know what that is, that's continuing education credits for doctors or nurses or dietitians. So this year now we're working again to do that, to bring that back again. And we're close to making that announcement that we're going to have that again, which is really great. And to me also, we get letters. It's a life-changing week. People write us letters, you don't know what it does. Because in the beginning we used to say the people that came on the cruise were hardcore vegan into the lifestyle, or they were sick. They were seriously sick and they were told to go home and die. And they said they heard about this cruise and we're going to go on this cruise and get better. So the cruise line used to say to me, Sandy, they never dealt with a group before when no one cancels. Because I said the people who are sick, they're not canceling because they want to get better. And in the beginning, everybody was hardcore to, wow, a vegan cruise. Yeah. Of course, it's changed over the years, but we still get a lot of people that come, for the education. And I call the recovery panel, we have a recovery panel where people share their stories of cancer, diabetes, or heart conditions, or cerebral palsy. And I call it a three handkerchief. It's a tearjerker. When people get up there and share their stories, we videotape it. It's to give encouragement to other people to see it, and the audience say, "Oh, wow, you mean it could really work? You could get better by adopting a plant-based lifestyle and do exercise and network with people," because that's what it's about. So people have wrote to me, "Sandy, you changed my life. The cruise has changed my life." And I'll give two personal funny stories about, not funny, but two real stories. A woman one year, I couldn't tell, on the cruise, there's a couple of thousand people. I say hello to everybody, and thank God we wear name tags, but I don't know people per se. And this one woman, one day out of the clear blue sky, I get a check in the mail. And she says, "Sandy, in my church, we believe in tithing. And what you do is wonderful." And she sent me a big check. She says, "This is for you as a thank you for what you do." I was like, way taken back, obviously.
Yeah. Wild.
And another lady who I tell, she's been on the cruise many times. She was our first billionaire person. She was a certified billionaire.
Gotcha.
And I helped her, personally with health issues. And I don't expect any money from her or anything like that. I help. It's my thing. I help people. So I'm leaving, and she says to me, "Sandy, come here." And I said, "What are you doing?" She takes out a checkbook because I don't need anything from you, whatever it is on. She says, "Sandy, I've been blessed that my family, we're wealthy, and why not share with other people?" And she wrote me a check for the most money I've ever gotten from anybody by far. Like
because she believes in what you're doing, because money comes and goes, it just flows. What you're doing is you're bringing together sick people who want an answer and want to get well. You're bringing in people who want to have a good time. You're bringing in people who want to learn. You're bringing in people who are seeking community. You're bringing in people who want to enjoy good food that's healthy for them. And you're bringing in their network of people in their community so that they can have that kind of social proof and that kind of support so that they can help inspire others. So when you think about that melting pot of people on this ship, it's an incredible, unique kind of experience. Because I think about other kinds of cruises that are thematic in the vegan world, and nothing compares to what you're doing, because you're more than focused on health and wellness. You're looking to get people to another place that are unwell, but you're mixing it in and everyone's having a good time. And then there's all these incredible professionals and whatnot in the vegan sphere that are there to help, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It really is.
And I have to tell you, every single year, there's maybe 5 or 10 people, regular passengers on the cruise, not part of our program, come over to us and say, "Can we join your program? We want to pay and join the program as part of what you're doing. We didn't know that you existed, and we want to be part of it and learn for the week." Every year. So it's pretty incredible that happens also. So, I'm as I said, my whole thing is to put out the biggest net you can to attract the widest audience you can. Because once you have them on board the ship, they're going to say, "Wow, this is pretty nice what you have going on here." They might be a little skeptical or whatever in the beginning, but it's pretty, honestly speaking, it's pretty incredible experience. And then to get to meet somebody, as I said, singles, if you're into a single person, what better place to meet somebody? Similar lifestyle. You're not going to be sitting in a class with somebody who's a drunk or is going to be doing cocaine or something like that. Right. Hopefully the lifestyle is similar. Yeah. So why not surround yourself with people with similar lifestyles?
Exactly. Yeah. And you never know. People come back from that ship, they're not forgetting about life. They're thinking about what they can do and what they can take back with them from the cruise. Whereas I think of a typical cruise where someone goes because they want a vacation, or they just want to pretend like their routine and the reality ain't there. They want to have a good time, which is great. But surprise, when you hop on the holistic holiday at sea ship, you take back the experience and then you start to make changes, hopefully, when you get back on land. And I think that's just wonderful. I know for certain Danny and I are coming back one way or another. We're going to be a part of this thing. And it's been an absolute pleasure over the years instructing and doing classes and being on that side on the ship. It's the gift is
we appreciate you very much. And Danny, very much. It's true. It's good to have that. By the way, just as a side note,
Sure.
I raised 5 children this way.
Huh.
I have 9 I'm the strictest out of everybody, but they all eat well, but I'm the strictest. And growing up in the house until they went off to college, there wasn't a choice. This is how they ate in the house. That was it. And when they went off to college, this is another sideline story. In some colleges, you have to live in the dorm as a freshman.
Yeah.
And I would write to the school and say, my kids can't live in the dorm. They're going to starve to death. What are you going to feed them? What kind of food do you expect them to eat in the dorm? Because, my kids are in the 40s now, whatever it is on. They weren't serving options of vegan foods every day, what I consider good quality foods. So we always got exceptions. They could live off in their own apartments. And I would send them, they would come home for vacation time. We'd always send them back with food, or they go shopping because they grew up this way. Because I had besides everything else, I had a very big natural food store, which I mentioned. So they grew up knowing how to eat well. So they have, with the 5 kids, they now have 9 grandchildren between them all. And are they same way? They eat, everybody eats well, everybody's very conscious. Are they strict like me? No, but that's okay. They know, and they certainly know what to do. They certainly tell other stories. I'm gonna give you another cute story. Am I allowed to give you another cute story?
Please, I love cute stories.
Okay, cute story. So I'm in the store, and my daughter is maybe 3 or 4 years old, going to a Montessori school, and this woman comes into the store, and she says to me, "Are you Amber's dad?" And I said, "Yes." She says, "Well, my daughter Samantha is friends with your daughter, and your daughter says to her that she doesn't have to eat sick. She doesn't have to be sick if she eats this." This my daughter's 3 or 4 years old at the time, telling this other 3 or 4-year-old daughter, other girl, how to eat well. The mother came in to find out, and look how it works out. Became friends with the mother and the father. The father happened to be the president of one of the largest radio stations in Miami. And when we did those Taste of Health, those things in the park, his radio station supported the park and everything that we did. So you don't know where it's going to go, how it's going to happen, who you speak to. And this is, it's pretty incredible. So that's how I look at it. I don't care whether you think, some people, I hear people, I canceled my class, only 2 people showed up, 3 people. You don't cancel your class. If you're there, it's your responsibility to teach the class.
It's true. I've had different kinds of, I've seen stuff like that where someone has an enormous audience and there's a lot of pressure on them, and they have to frame it in a certain way to make sure that they have something to capture when they go somewhere, but they're trying to speak to an audience and there's just no one there. It's just not the type of place where someone's speaking. I've seen other things, or even us, like when we first started coaching, we would have nobody or 1 or 2 people in the room. And, you feel embarrassed, you worry, you're like, hey, you're going to find success, but then you turn around and it's a decade or 2 later and you have a strong community. So it's tough. It's tough in situations like that because it's hard to speak to empty seats, for example.
Yeah, of course.
Even when those seats should be filled, right? I've seen other kinds of celebrities speak to empty seats too, because it's like, you never know who you're going to inspire or influence. And sometimes that one person does sit down, and then you could sit down next to them and you can make a difference in their life. And you never know where conversations like that can go. They're hard conversations. They're hard scenarios to be in, but you stand your ground and something comes out of that eventually. Sometimes it doesn't, but often it does.
Yeah, I know. I've talked to audiences where English is not their first language, and they're doing the translate. I hope they're saying close to what I'm saying, or whatever it is. Sorry.
Yeah.
But that's okay. And then after I give my talk, they would come over to me and say, "Sandy, you don't have to stay around anymore for the question and answer because I'm not going to understand anything anyway."
Yeah. But some of our athletes with Plant Built, when they come from overseas and there's such a language barrier, and you're literally like, well, you have to find another way to communicate. Just like with my nephew when he was a kid, when he was a baby, he couldn't speak. So now we have that bond. I don't read lips, but I can read his lips because I was forced to find another way to communicate with him, even though I can't read people's lips. Because when there's that bond there, or when there's a need to communicate, you find a way. So you never know where things like that go.
Yeah, my biggest issue, I have to learn how to talk slower because I talk too fast sometimes. So when I go talk to audiences, like in Europe, when I do these programs, they, say, Sandy, English is not necessarily everybody's first language, so please talk slower.
We have that New York kind of way where you get it as many words out
Yeah, that's right.
as possible. Yeah, I feel you. Sometimes I try to slow myself down too, and then I realize, oh, it's a little too late. That's okay. So one other question I was curious. I don't think we touched upon what got you into exercising.
Um, I guess a friend of mine told me, I was always, I thought I exercised, but I realized I wasn't. And I had a little bit of a belly. I wasn't in such good shape or whatever it is on it. And I started, my closest friend who I work out with almost every morning, he's a triathlete. And he comes on the cruise, Larry Krug sometimes. And
Oh
so
yeah.
we work out at the gym almost every morning. And then a couple of mornings a week, we run on the beach and we swim in the ocean. I say he swims, I frolic. So I've been exercising and I feel good about it. And everybody always questions me that I get up and I still do it. And I said, yes, even on Sundays. And I said, even on Sundays, what's the difference? As I said, if I'm in town, there's a gym, I go exercise. And if I have to, I switch around my hours because I don't sleep a lot of hours. People that know me. So when I used to, the head chef on the cruise lived in Europe for the first 10 years. And so it was a 5 or 6 hour time difference. So I would be up speaking to him. It'd be, say, 8 o'clock in the morning. It'd be 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm up and people used to come around me and they say, Sandy, are you getting up or are you going to sleep? They didn't know because I speak to people in California, I speak to people in Europe. So no one knew. And I never told them what I was doing at the time. So, and I find that exercises, breathing, obviously, oxygen, you have to breathe. Everybody has to be able to, I kid around with everybody, but one of the most important things you should do in your life is chew your food really well and breathe. We take breathing for granted, but it's not such for granted.
It's true.
Having good breath work, and you know that because you have to do that in order to be the situation you are and the shape that you're in.
Matters.
People forget to breathe, and people forget to chew. They swallow their food, and so my message always is that everything should be liquefied when it leaves your mouth. So you got to chew to make it liquefied, and then your body says, "Thank you very much." Your kidneys go, "Thank you. I don't have to work so hard."
Yeah.
My heart says, "Thank you very much. I don't have to work so hard." Because people think their kidneys are made out of cast iron, and they can put anything in one there. And the women, especially when they get, breast cancer, when they get these blockages, and so if you chew really, really well, you don't eat dairy products, you don't have vaginal discharges, you don't have cysts. Am I promising that to everybody? No, but I'm promising that if you follow what I'm saying, you're going to see incredible differences.
Yeah.
So, but it starts with chewing. So chew your food really, really well, and it's incredible. And also you appreciate your food better. And so people, if you're not going to chew, get up and leave the table. Sorry, you can't just swallow the last 5 bites. It'll be there. Come back later. You're not doing a service to yourself if you don't chew your food.
Right.
So I always tell everybody to do that. Of course, you have conversations and you don't chew as well. But when I counsel people and they had cancer, as an example, I tell people they should chew 30, 40 times, liquefied, whatever it is on it. People with cancer, I tell them they have to chew 200 times, at least 100 times. And I say, you know what? You want to get well? Do I care about you getting well more than you care about getting well? I'm here to help you. If you want to get well and you want to cure yourself, because I'm just a cheering squad. It's your body. You got to get. My philosophy is, you get yourself sick, you can get yourself unsick. You didn't. Why every so often somebody catches something, but you know what? Getting back to the whole philosophy, you don't catch anything. You make yourself a welcome host or an unwelcome host of disease.
Yep.
Just like that woman said the very first day, you attract certain things in your life. Now, people are listening, they say, well, is this guy crazy? What's he talking about? I am crazy, but that's okay. That's my message.
You do. Yeah, and there's no
Unnecessary,
guarantees. You
no
want to give yourself
guarantees.
the best probabilities possible to be an
Right,
unwelcome host for disease.
right. Yeah.
It's
So
they-
I tell people, come on. And so if you got yourself sick, you did it. Who are you blaming it on? Don't go blaming it on your neighbor. Person sneezed on you. Give me a break.
Yeah.
If your immune system is strong, it doesn't matter, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So that's the key, is to get a good immune system. The key to all health is an immune system.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Any final last minute thoughts or words you want to share? And can you let our audience over here know how to book their trip for the 2025 cruise?
My pleasure to share that with you. It's holisticholidacy.com is the best way. You can book right online. And if you mention Giacomo right here, you get a $50 onboard credit. And we gratefully thank him all the time. But you get to shop in the bookstore or a consultation, whatever it is on it. So just look at the website, holisticholidacy.com. All the information will be there. And there's a place where it says, how did you hear about the cruise? And it's a required field. You have to fill it out. So mention Gio, mention Danny, and everybody. It's a win-win situation. So the win-win situation for everybody who's listening is you take care of yourself. And as you take care of yourself, then you are a good example to your family. Your family then takes care of the neighbors take care of their neighbors take care of the town, and we all together take care of the world. And that's what it's all about. We want a one peaceful world where everybody gets along together, everybody's healthy and happy, and the environment, everybody's smiling, the animals, the plants, we're all here together to make it a happy life.
Thank you so much for sharing some of your stories, your wisdom, your experience, giving our audience a good impression of what the cruise is like. And we all hope to see you there. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. Stay in touch with us at Vegan Proteins and at Muscles by Brussels on the socials. Hit the contact button on VeganProteins.com and you'll hear from one of us right away. And we hope to see you on the cruise. Go to Holistic Holiday at Sea. We'll leave that link in the notes as well. And hopefully we'll catch you in 2025. Thanks again for tuning in. My name is Giacomo, and we'll talk to you soon.